Hello, everyone. This is Angela, and you're listening to Homeschool Unrefined, the podcast where we keep homeschool simple, real, and fun.
And this is Marin. You've got a bonus episode where we read diverse books with Charnaie Gordon. We were actually going to put this out about 2 months ago, but then, this whole pandemic happened, and it just didn't feel quite right at the time. And yet we really wanted to get it out there to you. And so we just decided we're going to give this to you as a bonus episode right now, so that you have it finally. And I think you all are going to enjoy this right now. We'll also have just a little bit of a bonus conversation with Charnaie in Patreon.
Yes. And so if you are unfamiliar with Charnaie Gordon, we met her last summer at the Brave Learner Conference, and we heard her speak there, and we really wanted to have her on the podcast. So she has an Instagram account called Here We Read, and it's huge. She's got like 62,000 followers.
Yeah.
So she's got a huge account.
And it's Here We, W-E-E. Read.
Yeah, 2 E's in the we. Mm-hmm. Yes. Charnaie is a diversity and inclusion expert, and she is really passionate about connecting people with diverse and inclusive literature for kids. And so this conversation is sort of a introduction to the work Charnaie does and to some great books in different categories. If you are wanting more after this, her Instagram account is filled with so many ideas for kids for diverse and inclusive literature.
Yep. Every day you'll get great ideas.
So please enjoy this conversation with Charnaie. All right. Welcome, Charnaie. We are so glad to have you here.
I am so excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Why don't we start with you just telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, your profession, your family, just the general stuff like that.
Okay, so I'm Charnaie, and my family and we have a family of 4. So it's myself, my husband, and our 2 children who are ages 7 and 6. Our daughter is 7. And our son is 6, and we live in Connecticut. I was born and raised in Connecticut. My husband was born and raised in Jamaica. My mom is of Jamaican descent as well, so she was born there. But I was born here, lived here in Connecticut all my life. I work full-time. This is not my full-time job, but I work full-time as a computer programmer. I've been at my job for this October will be 15 years. Wow. And so I have over 15 years of experience in IT, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, but you also started this really awesome Instagram account called Here We Read. Yeah. And it's like really grown in popularity. And I think it's been so good for so many people to see it. So could you tell us a little bit about that? When did you start it? Like why, what was your motivation, and what's your hope for that Instagram page?
Sure. I started the Instagram page back in February of 2015. And really, I just started it because I did have another blog before. I knew that I wanted to blog because I like to write. And so I had another blog before, but I wasn't really feeling it and kind of passionate about it. And people would always ask me for book recommendations. And so I started the book blog. Just kind of like, just people were, I'm like, maybe I'll start talking about books. And that's what I did. And really just to give other people recommendations, and then to share what I was reading on my own and share what I was reading with my children. So that's kind of how and why it started. And back in 2015, I didn't even know that blogging was a thing. Like I knew, I had followed, read other blogs before, but I didn't know that it was like a thing where you could actually make a career out of it and make money from it. I had no idea. And it wasn't until I joined Instagram about 6 months after I started my blog, my sister said, well, why don't you join Instagram? And I'm like, what's that? I had no idea what Instagram was. And So I started it, and that's where I actually found a sense of community first, outside of the blog.
Wow.
And then I started, the Facebook and Twitter, Pinterest, and all of that. But Instagram is where I kind of found my groove. I found my people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one that I focus on the most. And that's the one that I enjoy the most. And it really, like when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know this Bookstagram, hashtag Bookstagram, what that was all about. But that's how I started to build community and find other people that were actually doing the same thing that I was trying to do. Mm-hmm. And then I said, oh, wow, this is actually a thing. And, and it just kind of grew from there, really. Once I started finding people, connecting with people, finding out about, publishers and, just that whole world that I didn't even know really existed. It kind of opened my eyes, and it made me excited.
When you started, was it specifically for diverse books, or were you just like, I just love books and I want to read books, and here it is?
Yeah. When I first started, it was just for any books. Like, it wasn't necessarily diverse books. And then as time went on, I started to see the same books. People were talking about the same books over and over. And I said, you know what? I want to do something different. And I didn't really see a lot of people talking about diverse books. And so I made the decision, because back then it was just probably me and one other person who was talking about the diverse books. Once I made the decision, that was it. And then, so then once I made the decision, that's when I started to really grow, because nobody else was really doing it.
Yeah. Wow. Do you have goals for the future of this Here We Read, or are you just kind of riding the wave and excited to see where it takes you? Or
I'm just riding the wave. I have no goals. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, the stuff that has already happened has surpassed my wildest expectations. I didn't even know that, I was going to get a book deal. All of this stuff, it just
so amazing.
Kind of evolved. It wasn't pre-planned or anything.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously it was needed. It was like you filled a hole.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Tell us about your book deal. I don't know much about that.
So
can you tell us?
Or whatever you can tell us.
Yeah. So I'm co-authoring a book with author Frank Murphy. The title is going to be A Friend Like You. And it's part of, Frank started this whole Like You series. I don't know if you've heard of the book A Boy Like You.
No.
Okay. So he wrote A Boy Like You. It came out in 2018, I believe. Okay. And it was a huge success. Okay. And now in July, he's coming out with the follow-up to that called A Girl Like You.
Okay.
The one that him and I are going to co-write is going to be called A Friend Like You.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. So it's a children's book.
Yes, it's a children's book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's great.
Yeah. So he has this whole series of, different books. And because the first one was such a success, he's kind of keeping it going. And I was just kind of asked to co-author the book with him last year. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great.
So awesome.
So let's talk about some books. You read a lot of children's books. If you follow Charnaie on Instagram, I wonder how are you getting through all these children's books?
I know.
What are some of your criteria for picking a great diverse children's book?
I like to focus on books that really just celebrate kids being kids, kids being everyday kids. I try to, I don't stay away, but I kind of, I don't want to always talk about, books about slavery or books about, that kind of thing. I think we're kind of past that. So I like to look at books that have, diverse characters, not just, Black, or not just based on skin color, race, But I'm looking for, is it inclusive? Does it include, and not all books are going to hit the same criteria.
Right.
But I just look for books that are well written, that have great illustrations and that that kind of tell a great story. And sometimes, depending on the topic or the subject, I'm looking at who's the author, who's telling the story, who's not included in the book, like who's maybe missing from this book that maybe should be in the book. So I'm looking kind of like at all of that when I'm really looking at a book.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And you have a 7 and a 6-year-old. Do they help you? Like, are they good judges? Do you read them a book and then they can tell you, oh, this is a winner, Mom?
Yeah. Like it depends on their level of interest a lot of the times. Like if I could see if they're zoning out, then I'm like, this one's not that good,
Yeah.
But if it kind of holds their attention, then I know it's like, okay, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I think we should dive in to all of your amazing, I'm so excited for this, your book list here. So we're going to mainly focus on picture books and like beginner chapter books, because that's where your children are really at, right? So, I mean, this makes so much sense. And I'm so excited because we like to tell people, I mean, picture books are not just for little kids. Picture books can be for any age. And I have like found that I personally love picture books myself, even sometimes more than chapter books.
Right.
There's so many great picture books out there. So I think we're going to go through maybe just a few categories, and you can share some of your favorites from each category, and you can expound on any book you want if you want to talk about it at all or whatever. But this is kind of just for you to let us know what you think, because we want to hear from you. So, okay. So first, maybe we'll start with Black characters or Black authors that have written books.
Yeah. So some of my favorite Black authors, I love anything written by and I think she's well known, but sometimes when I say her name, people are like, who? But it's I don't know if it's Cozbi, but I think it's Cozbi A. Cabrera.
Okay.
It's Cozbi is her first name.
Okay.
And then middle initial A, and then Cabrera.
Okay.
Yeah, I love anything that she writes. She's such a great storyteller. She's also an illustrator as well. So I love anything by her. One that's kind of a standout for me is called My Hair is a Garden. Such a beautiful story. She has another one coming out in April. I mean, I know you wanted to stick with present day books, but that April's right around the corner.
It is. Yeah, it really is.
It's called Exquisite, but I think she's the illustrator. I have to check. I have to double check on that. I'm not sure if she's the author illustrator on it or if she's just an illustrator, but I think she's the author illustrator on that. But it's called Exquisite, and that comes out in April.
Yeah, awesome.
Exquisite, and I think the subtitle is the life of Gwendolyn Brooks or something like that. Yeah,
I'm looking it up right now. Yes.
Okay.
Gwendolyn Brooks.
And just for our listeners, this will all be in the show notes, or in your podcast app. So you don't need to write any of these down. It'll be right there for you.
Yes.
You just listen and enjoy for right now.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Awesome. Another one of my favorite authors, Black authors, is Vanessa Brantley Newton.
Okay.
Awesome. I'm writing all this down. I am writing down.
Yeah, she's amazing. One of her more recent books that she just did is called Just Like Me. It's a poetry book, but it's inclusive of it's specifically targeted towards girls or people who identify as girls. But it's called Just Like Me, and it's a poetry book, but they're really cute poems that celebrate just, all things girl, whether it's tough girl or shy girl or, brave girl, whatever. I just love that book so much. And my daughter loves it too.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So she's another great one that I love. Vashti Harrison.
Oh yeah.
Vashti Harrison. anything by her
Yes.
is great too. She did the little
The
leaders,
Yeah.
for girls, for boys. There's another inclusive one that I think that one's called. I don't remember the whole title of it, but there's another one that's inclusive of not just like Black characters, but there's all inclusive characters as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome. Those are so great.
As far as Black male authors, I love Derrick Barnes.
Okay.
I don't know if you know any of his work.
No.
Well,
Yeah,
I feel like I don't know always the authors, and then I'm looking them up, and I'm like, yes, I just read this. I just read his book, Crown.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah,
and he has a follow-up to Crown coming out in September, so that's another.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's another one.
That's won several awards, and
yes.
So many
another favorite Black author, Oge Mora, Oge is her first name, and then Mora, Mora. I love her as well.
Mm.
Yeah, these all look so familiar. I feel like we've read these books, and I have not been picking up on all the authors. So I'm so glad we're talking about actual authors, and I'm going to put them in my mind and find more of these. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
she's amazing. And she's another like author illustrator.
Okay.
As well. So those are some of my like favorites off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm seriously going to the library right after this. I'm so excited about these books. They look amazing. The ones that I have not read. I mean, they just look so great. So yeah.
All right.
Should we move on to the next category?
Indigenous people. Do you have some books for Indigenous people or authors?
I do. So some of my favorites, one of my favorites from last year that I just could not stop talking about is called Fry Bread.
Okay.
It's a very simple book, but it's just so well done. It's all about fry bread, which is kind of like a staple food for Native Americans, and it has this whole history behind fry bread.
Okay.
So it talks about like the history of it, but it's just really beautifully written, amazing illustrations. And that book got a lot of buzz last year because it was just amazing.
It looks good. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Another one, a favorite from last year, is called At the Mountain's Base.
Okay.
That was a beautiful story about a Native American pilots who serve this country in the military.
Okay.
Yep. We Are Great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
We Are Grateful is another one.
Okay.
I think that was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, probably 2 years ago.
Okay.
No.
Awesome.
Teresa Sorrell.
Yes.
That sound right? Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
And these are all Native American authors as well.
Oh, cool.
So,
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. Which I think makes a huge difference because it's they're telling the story from their own personal perspective and culture.
Right.
The People Shall Continue, which is another classic. That one came out years and years ago. But if you're looking to talk to kids about, Native Americans and the history of Native Americans in this country, that's a great one.
Yeah.
That's good to know because I feel like the older the books, the more I'm like, is this going to be okay or not? But that's good to know that that's one that was written a while back and really good.
Yeah. And that, again, that's done by actual Indigenous people. So
that's great.
Good.
Awesome. So those are just some of those.
Yeah, great. All right. Should we move to Latino?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do Latino. That sounds great.
Latino. Okay. So hold on. Let me get to my list.
Mm-hmm. This is so great because we talk so much about, why we want to read diverse books. We've talked a lot about why it's great to read picture books. But to have actual lists in people's hands is going to be this is just priceless. It really is. Because this is like a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of focus and energy that you put into these lists. And we are just so grateful.
We're grateful.
Yeah.
And
We really are.
it's missing from our community. I really, this kind of resource is missing from our community. And so we're glad that you're willing to do this. Thank you.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay.
Yep.
Let's see. I have a few that I want to highlight. This one is really good. It's called Bravo Poem, but it's a poetry book.
Okay.
It's probably for maybe slightly older kids.
Okay.
Maybe like, age 9 and up. Maybe
Okay.
it's called Bravo Poems about Amazing Hispanics.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That looks so good.
Yeah,
So
that one
great.
is a great one. Another good one that we liked, Dancing Hands. How Teresa Carreño played the piano for President Lincoln.
Oh,
Awesome.
wow.
Oh my gosh. I need these books.
And then the last
so
one.
beautiful too.
Yeah, and then the last one that's really beautiful is called Planting Stories.
Mm-hmm.
The woman, her name escapes me right now, but she was the first, I don't know if she was Puerto Rican, Latin American, but I want to say Latin American, but it's called Planting Stories.
Yeah.
But she was like the first Hispanic librarian, I believe, in New York.
Yes. Okay. Pura Belpré.
There it is. Yes.
Yes. That looks
Yes.
great too.
Pura
Oh my
Belpré.
gosh.
All of these have such great covers and
Yes.
illustrations that just really invite you in.
Yeah, and I have to say, a lot of them have won awards. I've noticed. These are.
Yeah, so I was right. So she was the first, New York's first Puerto Rican librarian.
That's
Cool.
awesome.
And she was huge for championing bilingual literature.
Mm-hmm.
In back in she came to America back in 1921. So
Wow. That's awesome.
yeah,
So
it's a
cool.
great one.
All right.
All
Let's
right.
move on to Asian characters or books.
Let's do it.
Or authors.
Yeah.
Authors, yeah.
Do you remember the little boys that were caught in the in Thailand in the
Yes.
cave?
The cave. Yes.
Yeah, Titan and the Wild Boars.
Okay.
The true cave rescue of the Thai soccer team.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a really great. Like, if you just wanted to teach kids about that, I really like that book.
Awesome.
For the history of that.
Okay, my kids
Cool.
would be into that. I can tell.
Oh yeah. Because that's like recent history too.
And
It
It's
is.
kind of
my kids might remember that too.
yeah.
Right.
That's
Yeah, I think
awesome.
even like older or younger kids would probably enjoy that story too.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Okay.
Another one for history is called Write to Me: Letters from Japanese American Children to the Librarian They Left Behind. This one was when did this come out? 2018. This one was kind of popular, but it's a true story about the World War II situation that happened over when the Pearl Harbor, right?
Yeah.
The Pearl Harbor attack
Mm-hmm.
happened. There was a Japanese American children who corresponded with this librarian.
Wow.
They had to leave the country, but they continued to keep in touch with
Wow.
the librarian. And she corresponded with the children, and it's a true story. But she kept in touch with the kids over a period of years, and they would write to her, share their stories.
Wow.
And so it was a really well-written book.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
Okay, and then I'll give you one more that I like. The Name Jar. That one is that one's a classic one that
It
I
is.
really like. Yeah,
Yes.
The Name Jar.
I haven't heard of that
Yes.
one.
Okay, it's about a girl who she immigrates. She comes here from her country. I can't remember if it's Korea or yes, she comes from Korea, and she moves to America, And the kids have basically a hard time pronouncing her name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so there's this whole name jar concept that is put in place. But it's a really great book. And in the end, the girl, she discovers that her name has a special meaning.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's a really
great.
sweet book.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you have any LGBTQ plus books?
I do.
All right.
One of my favorites from last year was when Julian is a mermaid.
Okay.
Julian is, that one is a beautiful story. There's a follow-up to that one called, I think it's like Julian Goes to the Wedding.
Okay.
That's coming out later this fall.
All right.
So that was a great one.
Nice. So I'm looking these up on Amazon as you're saying them. And so like I'm looking up, I looked up Julian is a mermaid, right? And then it comes like there's lists of other books that are not even by the same author, but somehow they know you'd like these other books. And there's a whole list of, this is why I spend so much money on books. There's
Yeah,
like 3
Amazon
other books underneath that I want now too.
Yeah, Amazon is good for that. Like,
Oh,
it's like,
my goodness.
oh, if you like this, you might like this.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I love it.
Another good one is When Aiden Became a Brother.
Okay.
And that has a whole like transsexual kind of theme to it.
Okay.
That kids may relate to.
Okay.
So those are 2 that.
Yeah, that's great.
Great.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate all these book lists. Like Angela said, it's not easy to find books of all these diverse authors and characters. And so if we're not very consciously seeking them out, it's really easy to just skip by.
Right.
So we want to make it easier. We want to make it easier for people. So thank you so much for making it easier for us.
Yes.
And hopefully, hopefully this is gonna get easier too and become more, I feel like when we went to the library, over in February, it was great. I was like, wow, why I would love to see this many books all the time of people, of people of color. So but yeah, so hopefully this is the trend.
Right. And let me give you another LGBTQ one that this one came out last year. I think it's called Queer Heroes. This one is for older kids, but it gives you I think there's like 53 different LGBTQ heroes from the past and the present.
Yes, I think I have seen this one.
Yep.
That looks good.
Yeah, and lots of books underneath that if you look on Amazon for that one.
Right.
They may or may not be great. I don't know, but they look good.
Right. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, some of these others, they have Pride, the story of Harvey Milk and the rainbow flag. That's another good one. Just talking about the whole history of the rainbow flag and how it came to be. We have that one as well. It's another good one.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, Charnaie. This is a great list, and it's a great jumping off point for everybody. And I would just encourage our listeners to use it as a jumping off point and to have it be like a little kick in the pants to do your own more in-depth research.
Yep, exactly.
So thank you. Can you tell us where to find you, Charnaie?
Yes, I'm available on pretty much most social media sites. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest under the username Here We Read. And the word we has 2 E's in it.
Yep.
And I'm in the process of redoing my own personal website.
Awesome.
So I'm not sharing that URL yet.
That's
but
okay.
It's coming.
That's okay.
Yay, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And you have another Instagram account called 50 States 50 Books too, right?
I do. Yeah, that's for my kids, but I run it, obviously. Yeah, that's all about their literacy organization that where we collect and donate diverse books for children all across America.
That's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here, Charnaie.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Homeschool Unrefined is created and produced by Maren Gorse and Angela Sizer. Ethan Miller is our editor, and Amanda Ginn is our VP of all the important things.